Hey everybody, this is Fleeting ASMR back with another video for you guys today. I'm going to be going over this Salvador Dalí art book with you guys today. I picked this up from a seller on Depop, the same seller I believe that I bought the Dalí mug from. So this will be a little bit of a show and tell. I'm probably not going to read everything. This is a pretty long book, but I did want to show you guys the art in here, maybe tell you a little bit of what the caption says about it, the titles, the year it was produced, everything like that. So, if you don't know, Salvador Dalí was a surrealist artist, and I'm sure it'll tell you the timeline. I'm going to say early 1900s, and he did have a lot of opinions politically that a lot of us today do not align with, so I'm in no way endorsing any of those beliefs. I just purely am looking over his art, and I use a lot of different artists as inspiration for my own creating, so that's kind of where this video is coming from. So let's get started. This is the front of the Dalí book. This is one of his art pieces. I have watched many documentaries about where he got a lot of his inspiration. I know he grew up in Spain on the coast, so a lot of his depictions of background have a lot to do with the emptiness of looking out onto the beach or the coastline, and this sort of represented here in this one as well. He is definitely one of my favorite artists of all time in terms of what he creates. He's just very off the wall. Eclectic would be another word to describe him. Very much a pioneer of surrealism at the time. So let's break this one open. And I notice right here, this is actually a representation of drawings that he did and produced. It looks like 1938 is the date on this little preview of his work. And then of course this is the page. Sorry, my headphone cord is going to be in the way a little bit, but I'll try to move it as much out of the way as possible. So as you can see, definitely things that don't make a lot of sense. I know for a fact that he did the key method, which I'm not sure if he is the one who introduced that or not, but the key method is really where you're sitting in a chair, or he explained it as he sat in a chair with a key in his hand and a plate on the floor underneath his hand, and whenever he would go into bouts of meditation or like that pre-sleep sort of state, and he would lose the grip on the key, it would hit the plate, and he would, obviously wake up from that, and whatever he saw in his mind during that time is what he would depict in his art. So for example, this looks like a pomegranate, there's a fish jumping out of that, a tiger out of that, and something even out of the tiger, which looks like another tiger. The elephant with very long legs. A lot of surrealists kind of adopt this like out of the ordinary things you couldn't even make up, and the more that you look at the art, the more that you're able to distinguish. Like, I've seen this many times, but even now today looking at it, I see things that I haven't seen before, and things of that nature. And it looks like his lifetime was 1904 to 1989. We have another depiction here, another drawing called the Impossible Model, and it looks like that was made in 1947. And it looks like we do have a table of contents here. So the first chapter starts out, how to become a genius. And obviously these are a lot of words. I'm not going to read most of it, but I do want to showcase the art because that is the most important thing in my opinion. This looks like it's a self-portrait created in 1921. And it looks like there's more of an impressionist art style going on in this one. So this is probably an earlier work in reference to what he creates later on. But like I was saying about the coastline that he depicts in a lot of his works, this is another instance of that. This one is called The Portrait of the Cellist Riccardo Pickett, and it was made in 1920, and it says, using the intimate style of Bonnard to portray his cello-playing neighbor and friend, the youthful Dalí already displays his mastery of a broad range of styles. And then we have a quick little sketch, it looks like over here, done in pencil in 1925, and this is called Don Salvador and Ana Maria Dalí, portrait of the artist's father and sister. And the little blurb says, the father's gaze is full of reproach. Salvador, although he may handle his pencil in the manner of Ingres, has just been expelled from the Madrid Academy of Fine Arts. Then we have this art piece right here called Portrait of My Father, 1920 to 1921. Another beach, coastline landscape there in more impressionist style. This piece right here is a really good example of the colors and style that he eventually goes on to make these like very earth tone, gray, sullen colors. It looks like this one is called Portrait of Louise Buñuel, 1924. This is a little sketch here. It's definitely, you can tell that that's a person's face, but it is harder to make out. And that is called Triple Portrait of Garcia Lorca, executed at the Café de Oriente in Madrid, and that is 1924. We've got a picture of Dalí on the bottom there on that infamous coastline when he was in his Impressionist period. This is a very popular piece, Figure at a Window or Girl Standing at the Window, and that is from 1925. I've seen that many times, and it has that same sort of dark gray. It's kind of hard to explain his art style and like what my brain registers as his art style, but it has a lot of dark outline, the earth tones like I was talking about, and you can just tell that it's a Dalí art piece. Over here we've got The Girl of Amsterdam, 1926. Another coastline background there, and still in his same sort of style. It gets a little bit more on the surreal side, I think, in this one. You know, things don't look super realistic as far as the body of the woman in this one. This is a great example of his surrealist, almost cubist looking art. There's like little things everywhere, like that. There's a person there, a torso there, an animal there, like very much, it's a very busy looking piece of art. It's called Apparatus in Hand. It is things that really don't make a lot of sense, but for some reason are still very inspiring, very gorgeous. He just was very talented, in my opinion. We have another version over here called Honey is Sweeter Than Blood from 1926. Has that sort of surrealist thing with there's that coastline again. These are both great examples of the surrealist approach he took. The one on the left is from 1928, and the one on the right is from 1929. In this one over here, at the top there's some cowboy hats, portraits of faces, other things that you can't really make out. Definitely a lot of bodies, faces he really liked to create. This one here is the portrait of Paul Eluard from 1929. That same barren landscape with a lot of the art at the forefront. These you probably are starting to recognize a little bit more. This one is called The Great Masturbator, and that's from 1929. This one over here on the right is called The Enigma of Desire, 1929. And a lot of these ones that I'm showing you now all have, I know it's hard to probably see, but there's like a pile of ants right here. And there's also a pile of ants right here. This is around the same time period as The Persistence of Memory, which is probably one of the most famous works that Dalí did, which has the melting clocks. I think people more in my generation probably recognize that more than anything else. We've got Accommodations of Desire from 1929. There are those ants again. Then we've got The Invisible Man from 1929. Here's The Persistence of Memory. This is 1931. There are those ants I was talking about. Same barren landscape. Almost like a face looking thing there. Just very interesting looks, little glimpses into the mind of Salvador Dalí. The one on the right here is called Fried Eggs on the Plate Without the Plate from 1932. We've got a few drawings here. Then we have this painting called The Old Age of William Tell, and that is from 1931. We've got some depictions here of what eventually would become the painting on the left of this, and that is The Enigma of William Tell. And then the bottom one here has a melting clock in it. I'm assuming to reference the persistence of memory, and that is called Anthropomorphic Bread from 1932. And a lot of his art was very revolutionary in the way that it talked a lot about taboo subjects like sex and different things like that. And he would depict, phallic symbols in his art. We've got this one here. This is Partial Hallucination, 6 Apparitions of Lenin on a Grand Piano. The one on the right here, we have Atmospheric Skull, Sodomizing a Grand Piano. Like I said, a lot of his stuff is very, I don't want to say taboo because it's not really taboo now, but at the time it was very shocking and groundbreaking to a lot of people. Even in the surrealist community, they really started to shun him for the different things that he would portray. We've got this beautiful coastline again, a little kid right here, and it looks like this is called The Spectre of Sex Appeal, and that's from 1934. This larger piece over here is Meditation on the Harp. I find, just like on the cover, there's a lot of these sort of stick crutches holding things up. It's in this one. There's also one right here. And there's also one over on this smaller painting called The Average Atmospherocephalic Bureaucrat in the Act of Milking a Cranial Harp, which I believe I saw that at the Salvador Dalí Museum in St. Pete when I went about 5 or so years ago. They have a very large collection of his work there. I think the largest collection of his work is in Spain, which makes sense because I believe there's a large Dalí museum there, and I think that's also where he is buried. The work on the left here is Atavism at Twilight, Obsessive Phenomenon, and that was made between 1933 and 34. The one on the right here, we have Archaeological Reminiscence of Millet's Angelus from 1935. Again, we have those barren landscapes. We have another one with a crutch type depiction in that same landscape. This is called the Architectonic Angelus of Millet, and that is 1933. And if I mispronounce anything, I apologize. The illustration on this page here, this big one, is Geological Destiny from 1933. This piece on the right is called Mae West's Face, which may be used as a surrealist apartment. And I think this one over here is very interesting because her features are all pieces of furniture or decoration. Her eyes are paintings, her lips are a couch, curtains, or her hair is curtains in this. It's just very interesting. Right here we have Woman with Drawers from 1936. Looks like there's a drawer coming out of her head in this one. We've got a similar depiction here in this one called the Anthropomorphic Cabinet. He really liked these like barren landscapes so that you would focus on the other pieces. of the depiction. We have the crutches over here, like I talked about before. Looks like a giraffe on fire. That's pretty sad, but it looks like this was made into a statue of the Venus de Milo with drawers, 1936. This is the painting that is on the cover of this book, and it's called, so this one is called Sleep, and it says, "Sleep is a veritable chrysalitic monster whose morphology and nostalgia are leaning on 11 principal crutches, equally chrysalitic, to be studied separately." That's from 1937. We have the soft construction with boiled beans, premonition of Civil War in 1936. Very interesting one there. This is one painting, I believe, and this is called "A Couple with Their Heads Full of Clouds" from 1936. And there is a photo of Dalí and his muse and lover Gala, photographed in 1936. This is also a very popular one, "The Face of War," from 1940 to 1941. And I think he was very obsessed with woman anatomy, death, definitely things that are maybe have a juxtaposition. This is a large work here. We've got the ants that we see in a lot of his work. I think this is one of my favorites. This is the geopolitical child watching the birth of the new man from 1943. I think they have a t-shirt at the museum with this, and I plan on getting that one. It looks like he's coming out of an egg there. Very interesting. And then we have some sort of biblical figure depicted there. We have a soft self-portrait of Dalí that he created. It looks like that was created in 1947. He also did a little Picasso drawing. I believe they were maybe not friends, but they were colleagues or inspirations for each other or what have you, up until people started turning on Dalí for a lot of his political views. This is a very interesting piece here from 1951, and it's called "A Logician Devil, Lucifer, Illustration for Dante's Divine Comedy," which is a great piece of literature. Then we have the Temptation of Saint Anthony over here with those long-legged elephant creatures. Some more very busy art depictions. We've got those ants. We've got the crutch. The landscape. This right here is a very popular piece as well. I believe it's called Galatea of the Spheres, 1952. This is a depiction of Gala, his muse and partner, his life partner, and very interesting. It's all this artwork is all made of spheres to depict her facial features, which is very interesting. She starts to become a regular figure in a lot of his works. This is a very interesting piece. I really like this one. It is called Christ of St. John on the Cross. I really like the perspective of this one. Here's another example of spheres being used in his art. This is called Dalí nude in contemplation before the 5 regular bodies metamorphosized into corpuscles, in which suddenly appear the Leda of Leonardo, chromosotomized by the visage of Gala, which is an extremely long title. This is 1954. He also would take inspiration from other artists from past times. Like, he included the dog here that was included in this other work from the 16th century. These are also very beautiful. I remember seeing a lot of these types of works at the museum. And these are later on in like the late 50s, early 60s. The Discovery of America by Christopher Columbus. This is a very popular piece as well, and this is called the hallucinogenic Toreador. This is a good picture of him photographed in front of a statue in 1971. And it gives a little bit of a description of what he did throughout his life in terms of his life and his work. It continues on to these other pages here. Some other photographs of Gala, of him with his last painting he created in 1983. And he did end up passing away in his home in Spain on January 23rd, 1989. And then he did ask, before his passing, obviously, to be buried in the museum. And then we have a list of the illustrations here just for reference. And this is the back, which has his signature on the bottom there, and then a photograph of him. He's pretty recognizable from his mustache choice. Well, thank you guys so much for sticking around with this video. I wanted to thank you for almost 100 subscribers. I believe we're at 91 or around there right now. I really appreciate it. If you guys like the content, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you do subscribe, definitely let me know in the comments and I will interact with your comment. You can just say, I subscribed, and I will be interacting. So, I wanted to apologize for the fact that I didn't post on Wednesday. We had a pretty bad hurricane come through. I live in Florida, so they happen quite often. And there was no way I could record with how insane the wind was, even though we didn't lose power. It was just so loud outside. There wasn't really any free time of silence that I could film, but this should be going out on Friday, and then it should be back to the regular schedule of Monday, Wednesday, and Friday posting. So again, thank you guys so much, and I will see you in the next video.